Welcome to Module 6, Structuring Your Speech. So in this module, we will explore how to craft and deliver a compelling speech that captures attention, takes the audience on a memorable journey, and leaves a lasting impression. In addition, we will delve into the art of speaking spontaneously, a skill that will ensure that you are prepared for any speaking opportunity. Now, let us begin. So, first, let's begin by seeing how we can craft a strong introduction to seize the attention of your listeners. The introduction of a speech is your chance to make a powerful first impression. So let's get started and let's get this right. Here's how you are going to succeed. Begin with knowing the audience mood. In case your audience are really quiet and they're formal, in that case, avoid dramatic openings. And what are you supposed to do? Open with calm authority. That is what you would have to do. Now, for an audience whom you expect to disagree with you, avoid opening with controversial or combative information. Be gentle and respectful in your tone. So, this is the key as to how you would start. The next point, never apologize during the opening. So you would have to remember to avoid phrases like, I'm sorry if this seems boring, because the minute you begin with such a statement, they will be bored. Or, I'm afraid this isn't my best work today. That means you are not respecting them, you have not prepared for them, and if that is not your best, why would they want to listen to you? Right? So, such statements diminish your authority and immediately you lose your audience. We don't want to lose those audience, isn't it? So, now let's explore some effective devices to open a speech. First one, amuse your audience and engage with them. Always say something or do something that is relevant to the character of the event. So, in case you do that, your audience will be with you because they'll fall into the same frequency and will be willing to listen to whatever you speak. The second one is to invite your audience to be involved with you. So, when you open your statement with a question or a request, for instance, you could say, Good evening. How many of you have formal studies after finishing full-time education? You're sure to get some responses at this particular point of time. After you get around 5 to 10 responses, you can always follow up by informing them or telling them what I'm going to tell you now. This evening, I asked you to set aside doubts about time or career benefits and think about how education transforms life. So, when you begin that way, listen to them by inviting their involvement, and then after your discussion, you close it with the statement which I just gave you. What will happen? You are projecting your authority on the language as well as making sure that you are the expert and your audience will want to listen to you. Now let's see what we can do next. Surprise! Yes, surprise the audience. Challenge them. Challenge assumptions with a bold and unexpected statement. For instance, you could tell them, education is not about acquiring knowledge. It's about unlearning outdated habits. Well, did you get my attention? Are you educated? What is outdated? When talking about or when mentioning outdated habits in education, now with Generation Alpha coming into place, we don't have educated and uneducated anymore. The comparison is between are you AI literate or are you AI illiterate? You get that? Right. Now, what else can you do? Set the tone and the purpose for your discussion. You can use the starter to adapt to any formal setting. It could be a graduation day, it could be a wedding, it could be a birthday party, it could be even a promotion, okay, at your office. So you can just say, like, how do I fit this? Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here today to celebrate what? Right? So that's a piece of cake. You can also begin by thanking the organizers. For instance, you can begin with, I'd like to thank the committee for inviting me to speak. It's an honor to be here. Or you could say, I'm really happy to be here. If it's children, become a child and speak like a child to them. They'll enjoy it. That is why, knowing our audience is really important. Now that we have discussed about the introduction part, let us see how to deliver the body of your speech. I want you to imagine your speech to be like a train. The engine is the introduction. And now we are going to the compartments, because this body of your speech has got different compartments according to the kind of information you would like to guide your audience, right? We are going to see how to guide your audience from information to information and keep them engaged till you finish your speech. First, remember your speech is a signpost to your route, because your route is your speech. Start by outlining the topics which you will cover. Tell them or inform them. Reiterate key points. At each stage, remind your listeners of the previous points. For example, let me give you an example over here. Okay. We've seen how adult education evolved in India. Now let's examine the influence of adult education in Sri Lanka. Okay, so you can do a kind of a comparison and talk about things. You can give an example and give an explanation. You can have an image, an illustration, and then talk about it. So if you could help your listeners recollect previous points, it's going to be really helpful. Now, the next one is adapt to audience attention spans. Listeners can only focus about 10 minutes before their attention wanes. What can you do? You can shift tones or add humor strategically. So 10 minutes, they are going to listen to you. After that, give them something to think about or do. There is a technique called Pomodoro technique. You could use that. So it's something from Japan. What you could do is, give your speech for about 10 to 20 minutes and then give them a distractor, shift in tone or a joke or some story, and then again go back to your speech. Remember to keep the distractor in line with your speech or the topic. Incorporating humor and anecdotes. Use humor sparingly. That reminds me of a story. Tell them the story and keep it brief, relevant, and fresh. And avoid cliche jokes or overuse of anecdotes. It's going to spoil the mood of your audience. So, whatever it is, balance. Okay, balance is the key. Engage your audience directly. That is always something I would advise you. If you would have to engage them, engage directly. Ask for them to show of hands. Okay, how many of you agree with me? Put up your hands. Or you could, if you're using the Pomodoro technique, you could say, if you say yes, a clap. If you don't agree, one, two, no. So that way, you could get your audience to engage directly whenever you are delivering the speech. But remember, don't give them open-ended questions, because their answers are going to go on and they're going to interfere in your speech. So don't encourage that. But encourage group activities. You could say, turn to your neighbor, give them a nod or give them a smile. And if it's something like a workshop, you could encourage them to share their ideas, your views. Okay, but remember, maintain the time. Probably you could tell them, I'm going to give you 2 minutes. You can appreciate everyone or give them lines if you are trying to motivate them. Next, use visual aids to reinforce your point, but make sure that they are clear and not complex. Okay, complex things would not work. And remember to adapt the content according to the age or the gender of the group you are addressing. For younger audience, you could respond with multimedia elements, while with older audience you might prefer structured arguments or persuasive speech. Well, people are not going to agree with you always. Handling controversy and criticism. Always back up arguments with evidence. Example of persuasive speech, you could say, recycling isn't a choice, it's a responsibility. According to recent studies, and you can provide the facts of your claim. And finally, we have reached that stage where we have to craft a conclusion, because it's important for your conclusion to leave a lasting impression. Use strong, memorable words and phrases. For instance, if I would have to mention about speaking or wonderful and strong, powerful, impactful speaking, I, as a literature person, would tell you, go and look up Mark Antony's speech from Julius Caesar, where he, you know, changes the mindset of the crowd with his speech. He talks about Brutus as an honorable man and Caesar as an ambitious person. But towards the end, the crowd turns or transforms into a mob, a crowd which supported the assassination of Julius Caesar and supported Brutus, change completely and seek out the assassins and kill them when Antony completes his speech. Remember, that is the power of speech. So, encourage your audience to reflect and act. You could tell them, tonight, as you leave, think about one change you can make in your community. If you're speaking about adult education or something that needs to be changed in relation to the environment or anything you're speaking about. As you prepare for your speech, remember you're writing out your introduction, the body, and conclusion. You might write, but as you write, remember written language and the spoken language are completely different. So, as you have made your points, go back and revise it to suit your spoken language. It's important to speak spontaneously. You would have to know the art of impromptu speaking. Sometimes you may be asked to speak without preparation, and here's how you excel in that. First, jot down some key points. Identify 3 questions the audience might want you to answer and address them So that is the wisest thing you could do. Then decide on your conclusion first. To sum up, the future of education depends upon individuals embracing lifelong learning. So that's something I would say in case I would have to speak about adult education and lifelong learning. And then maintain poise and confidence. Use a steady tone and avoid and rambling. Now, let me share Shakespeare's wisdom. Remember Hamlet's advice to the players: speak the speech, I pray you, as I pronounce it to you, trippingly on the tongue. Deliver your words naturally with conviction. Public speaking is both an art and science. By mastering the introduction, crafting a compelling body, and delivering a memorable conclusion, you can captivate any audience, and by owning your skills, your ability to speak spontaneously, you'll always be prepared for the unexpected. Practice these skills and you will become confident and an impactful speaker. Thank you. I'll see you in the next module.